Okay, on this one we're asked to find all zeros. And so remember that finding a zero is essentially solving it for x. We're trying to find out when our output would be 0, what our x value would be. And so the very first thing that we need to do here is change our output. Instead of h of x being our output, we're going to substitute 0 in for our output, because that's essentially what we're looking for here. Okay, now we look at this one here, and we're trying to determine, does this one have a common factor that I can factor out? Well, they don't have any x's in common, but they do, looks like, yep, they've got a 5 that we can factor out of this one. So I'm going to take a 5 out of each one of those. Okay, 5 out of 5x to the 4th is just x to the 4th. Then I'm dividing each one of these by 5. Essentially, I'm pulling that 5 out of there. Now I'm left with this, this x to the 4th minus 5x squared plus 4. And now I have to factor what's left. And that gets a little bit more complicated. I'm not used to factoring stuff that has a 4 here. Now if it was a squared, something like in this problem here, if it were x squared minus 5x plus 4, I know two numbers that multiply together to give me 4, but add together to give me negative 5 would be negative 4 and negative 1. So I could do it if it had a squared here. Well, you can do the same thing with this one, just because it's a 4 there instead of a 2. We're just going to set it up slightly different. Let me show you what it'll look like. So we're going to keep our same thing here, but instead of saying x minus 4 and x minus 1, it's going to be x squared minus 4 and x squared minus 1. So, and if we were to if we were to multiply this one out, it would give us x to the 4th minus 5x squared plus 4. Okay, so now we've got this set up and we're feeling pretty good about ourselves. So the next step here is we're going to have to see if we can factor these any further. Okay, well, x squared minus 4 I know can factor. That's x minus 2 times x plus 2. And x squared minus 1 can factor to x minus 1 times x plus 1. So I have to take it a step further and factor all of those. And this is what we're looking like here. Now, this x plus 2 times x minus 2 all came from right here. This x squared, this x minus 1 times x plus 1 all came from this x squared minus 1. Okay? And we just factored them all the way out. So now we have quite a few here. All right, let's erase that. Okay, now on this one, the next step is that I'm going to have to set each one of these equations up. Okay, and set them all equal to 0. Now, if I go 5 equals 0, it doesn't have a variable, so I just basically exclude that one. I don't have to worry about that at all. Okay, so I'm just going to set the rest of these up. Now, I color-coded them here just to make it a little bit easier. X plus 2, so I set that one up, x plus 2 equals 0. X minus 2, I set that one up in green. X minus 2 equals 0. X minus 1, so I've got 0 equals x minus 1. And then x plus 1, so I've got 4 here. So I'm going to have 4 different answers. Well, we knew that judging by what the degree was of this polynomial. So we've got that set up. Now I just have to solve each one of those. And you can go down the line and subtract 2 from this one from both sides and go on down. And magically we did it here. We solved all of our equations. Okay, now I've got this negative 2, positive 1, negative 1. Now I just have to rewrite that. And you'll want to look, if it's a homework assignment, I'll have the answers, and you just select the correct one on the test. You can write it all out like that if you so desire. You can also just write it x is equal to plus or minus 2. This is a positive 2, and that's a negative 2. And plus or minus 1, that's a positive 1, that's a negative 1. So you can write that as your answer as well.